Near the end of 2018, I was asked by Broken Pencil magazine if I could design a paper toy for one of their future issues. Broken Pencil is a magazine about zine culture and the independent arts based out of Toronto. In this video I'll be designing that paper toy for Broken Pencil, showing my development process for both the paper engineering and graphic design aspects of the project, and I'll be sprinkling in some zines that I found whilst researching that I thought were interesting. My name is Alex Gwynn. I'm a graphic designer and paper engineer with a decade of experience designing paper toys and paper crafts, and in case you're unsure, zines are a small circulation self-published work of original or appropriated text and images, traditionally reproduced via photocopier, but these days many are produced using standard home printers. Since 1995, Broken Pencil has been a magazine dedicated exclusively to exploring independent creative action. The magazine is published just 4 times a year, and each issue features reviews of hundreds of zines, small press books, comics, and more. I was really excited when Broken Pencil approached me, and not just because I'm always excited when someone wants me to design something, but also because I'm a huge fan of zines. Often art is a battle between the creative and the contractual. That is to say that the artist has to amend their art in order to create something that's either profitable or printable, or the art is pruned in order to fit in with an editor's goals. Yes, the creative is creating, but in order to reach publication they have to align their work with the goals of everyone above them, whether it be an editor, a publisher, a contractor. The artist's true vision is often obscured because of this, but with zines, these roadblocks are near non-existent. It's this low barrier of entry that draws me to zines in much the same way it drew me to paper toys. I couldn't afford clay or silicon to make art toys, but I could afford paper. A creator has an idea, they put it on some paper, and a few staples later, they have a zine. And because of this simplicity, ideas and designs that would otherwise be unlikely to be printed, be it because they're too political or explicit or niche, can reach the public. Take for example Hookup by Anthony Nasir. It's a collection of their personal sexual experiences as a gay man, made over the culmination of a year of dates and awkward sexual encounters. It's not necessarily a topic which would be considered advertiser friendly, but zines rarely have to worry about such things, and that's why I love them. You get to see a creator's own vision, whether it be illustration, photo or writing. The only limitation are that of the print process. But for now, that's enough gushing about zines. Let's start designing, and we'll start with a reference. Because Broken Pencil were kind enough to send me 2 models that were previously featured in their magazine, so let's take a closer look at these under the studio lights. The first model is the Make Your Own Hypoallergenic Kitten by Amy Moore. It originally appeared in C is for Cat, a cat activity and colouring book. I don't quite know what it is, but I absolutely love this paper toy. It's incredibly simple and the template layout is a little bizarre. It's certainly not optimized. There's an innocence to this design which I can't help but fall for. Perhaps it's because I've spent so long designing paper toys and looking into complex paper engineering that seeing a toy this simple and sketchy, it's refreshing, and it reminds me of the reason why I became so infatuated with the medium to begin with. The second model is the Angel of Death by Francis Lee, a Toronto-based illustrator. It's very simple, much like the first, but it features a lot more of a shaded art style. The instructions suggest you hang it in your car window or from your doorknob to ward off evil spirits. The entire template for this looks hand-drawn, which I really like. The tabs and fold lines all appear to be done by hand, which is unusual, but it gives it a very homegrown feel, which definitely echoes the best qualities of zines and zine culture. Both of these models are black and white, which makes me think I should design my model in a similar style. However, it's worth remembering that these models were originally designed to be printed inside the zines themselves, which are traditionally black on coloured paper. In my email exchange with the people at Broken Pencil, they mentioned the model being a digital download, so I'm not going to make it purely black and white, but I'll certainly take inspiration from these models and use a simple, mostly monochrome colour palette and a hand-drawn illustration style for the texture work. The client mentioned something like a stapler character, and so I've taken that and run with it, and here is what I'm thinking. I'm making the character sat down, so it's going to be kind of leaning back on whatever surface it's placed. If you can imagine, this is a full block of end that will be sliced. That's what I'm aiming for. This is something I do a lot. I design characters that are sat down or kind of leaning when I need to make it simple. Otherwise, you have to make sure that the character is stably strong enough to actually stand on two legs without collapsing under its own weight. And you also have to worry about other things like balance, and when you don't have control over what thickness of card the client is going to be printing it on, that also adds a level of difficulty when it comes to balance, because complexity means weight a lot of the time, and so if it's complex on one side not the other, it'll tip. But that's not something you have to worry about if the thing is plonked on its butt. And so this will be nice and simple. One of the problems or complications I can see that we're going to run into is this asymmetry. There's a lot of room over here and none. This will just be a flat face on the other side. So that means that these legs, although we're going to be designing them to look the same, they're actually going to fasten onto this body in two completely different ways. So that's something I have to bear in mind as I'm designing it. As for the metal section of the stapler, the actual stapling component, that's just going to be a printed on section here. I thought about making it 3D and kind of jutting out, but ultimately I think that'll be just another level of complexity that someone who's not built a paper toy will probably not want to deal with. Here's the first prototype. It's just an outline of the basic shape. You'll notice I haven't actually glued it together because this way I can get a better idea of where the tabs connect and what order they should be glued together in future builds. The overall shape is pretty simple, but the legs have a slice through them. The leg sits at an angle because the body is at an angle and the legs are at 90 degrees to the body. So to make this model sit flat against whatever surface it's placed on, we need to chop away any excess parts of the leg so that every edge lines up against the floor. If, for example, the leg was a cube, we could just see what angle we wanted on the front face, but because these legs are a triangular prism, it's a little more complicated. Luckily, we can still approximate based on the front view, which will later stretch to the face of the foot front, and we know where we want this cut to end on the side view, and if we just match up those two, we can create a slice through the leg. This prototype also has this empty space where the leg connects to the body. This tab flaps out from the side and then glues onto the leg to hold it in place. But I wonder if we can create a little something to lock this leg into the appropriate angle before it even reaches this tab by adding something into this gap. So I'll be doing that in the next prototype. Perhaps you're looking for a quick eyebrow raise and a chuckle from your next zine. Well, look no further than Bartwork 2 by Ken Kagami. The zine consists of a bunch of pictures of Bart Simpson. It's a bit of Dada-esque fun, taking a well-known pop culture character and warping them beyond recognition. If you found yourself asking, who would buy that? In the last few moments, this probably is not the zine for you. But even if it was the zine for you, good luck getting a hold of it, because it's either sold out or out of print depending on where you look. So I wanted to see how it would look if the stapler was holding a zine and reading it, which turned out to be incredibly complicated to do. Getting the measurements to be accurate for arms that are at an odd angle, connected to a body that's at an odd angle, and then connecting them to a zine that's also at an unusual angle was a bit of a brain melter. I solved a lot of the issues by making the spine of the zine its own shape face, which sits at the same angle as the edge of the zine, and cutting the shape to give it the illusion that the zine was at a more extreme angle than it really was. It's a mixture of forced perspective on top of a level of real perspective. Unfortunately, I don't really like the results. The zine covers up a lot of the stapler and it makes it very hard to tell what this character actually is. I don't think people will be able to tell it's a stapler with so much of it covered behind the zine, plus it's just more things for people to cut out. So instead I'm going to put the character's arms down by its side and then have the hands splayed out behind it to help keep its balance. This prototype also included an angle lock for the leg. You have to flip up this tab to glue it onto the leg, but by doing this you now create a hole for this slot to slide into, which helps lock everything in place. Right now the slot makes contact with the edge of the hole, so I'm going to round this out so it slides perfectly into place without making contact in the next build. But at this point in the prototype process I've got more than enough done to start work on the texture. I very rarely design a paper toy that has a hand-drawn aesthetic, tending towards either creating extremely detailed designs or very clean minimal textures. However, in October I took part in Inktober and made 60 simple doodles, so I feel a little more confident with the style. For the face, I went with a somewhat confused look. I wanted to make the character look like a happy idiot, or someone who's overjoyed but not quite sure what they've just read in the zine that's made them so happy. And speaking of the zine, they're holding it in one of their hands that they're using to balance themselves. And here I am designing it. I had a lot of fun creating this tiny double page spread. So much fun, in fact I think that if I can find room on the page I'll add another micro zine. I used a light pink for the zine to make it stand out from the largely monochrome texture of the staple character, and used the same shade of pink to add some detail to the shoes. Let's read this. Here's the first textured prototype. I always love how much life adding a texture brings to a model. It starts to feel like a product rather than an idea. I've decided to name this stapler Stanley. It just looks like a Stanley to me. You can see how Stanley's arms curve around from the side of the model onto the back and then back onto the side of the legs before meeting the large hands at the bottom. Having the arms curve around like this means we can avoid texture going onto the top of the leg, which would look a little odd and make the arms suddenly jut outward. Stanley holds a zine in his left hand. The back cover folds back upon itself so that it's textured on both sides. The zine also lines up nicely with Stanley's hand, so there aren't any tiny or awkward cuts to make. The mechanism to lock the leg in place has been cleaned up. It's now rounded so that it fits perfectly into the slot. I did this by making a circular cut using the leg's back fold as the centre, meaning that every point on this curve fits perfectly. If we look at this from the top, you can see that the curve is just part of the perimeter of a larger unseen circle. There are a few mistakes I need to amend, such as the broken pencil logo slightly slipping behind Stanley's right leg, the arm texture on one side doesn't continue onto the upper body, and the thinner section of the stapler also sits at a slight angle, but right now I'm not sure if that's a design or a building error, but hopefully building the model again should help to clear that up. If you're a fan of just looking at things that look nice, you might enjoy the Tractor Zine. Tractor Zine features 18 designers and non-designers in a set of 9 zines, all collected together into one big, beautiful box printed by Steadyco. The Tractor Bean website describes the project involving these 18 creators being shoehorned into unlikely pairs and tasked with finding or creating common ground in uncomfortable territory. Okay, so let's run through the adjustments as quick as I can. So in this version I fixed a few of the issues that I'd had before. I still haven't fixed the arm, I guess I just forgot. However, what I did add was another slice into the back here. So you can see the legs get a little thin towards the back to make it look more like this character's leaning backwards. Because I thought that was quite nice, especially it kind of justifies the hands being there as extra balance. It does turn out, however, this piece here is actually a design error, and I figured out what it is. In fact, it took another prototype to figure out what it was, and you can see here that that's fixed now. What I've done is, although I've added this slice into the leg to make it look like it was leaning backwards, I hadn't taken into account that I also had to do it on this piece. So if you look at the bottom, the legs, although they all stop at the same level, the inner structures, like the inside of the legs, they continue, so they actually put it off of balance, and that's what causes this issue here. It's the paper contorting. So I've fixed that here, but in doing so I've caused more issues, because of course now I have to adjust the texture accordingly, which I haven't done. But that just about sums it up. Let's do the final build of the model, and everything should be finished. oh Bobby, oh okay, oh well. Oh. Okay, I'm going to wrap the video up here with a bit of a slideshow of the finished product because all of my equipment broke whilst I made this video. My computer has actually blew up for 3 days and I'm very stressed and a bit sick now. So sorry for the lackluster ending. So let's go through and see what the final product looked like. I was very happy with the final product. I think it has like this cheeky character to it, and I think that the dumb little smile he has is somewhat endearing. I spent quite a long time adding in that extra slit to the back of the legs to make it kind of lean backwards, but in the end it only leans back about 3 degrees, so I think that may be a case of me over-engineering things, as I do have a tendency to do. Luckily, that it doesn't actually impact the builder in any way, shape or form. It's just something that I did because I wanted to do it. One of the things I'm most proud of with this project is the locking mechanism on the leg. I'm really happy with how that came out, and I'll probably be reusing that very specific design in the future because it was very useful, and I had a lot of fun working on the mini zines. I designed another one that had some pictures of myself in it, which was fun. It's always fun to put those little Easter eggs in there. It was a great project. It's always fun working with like a non-profit, and that's why I always give them a discount. And I hope they hire me again, to be frank, because they gave me almost, complete free reign to design whatever I wanted, and so I use that to do something a bit more experimental. If you made it this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry about the weird ending, but like I say, everything broke for like 3 weeks, and I'm very stressed and very tired and very sick now. It's all fallen to bits, but this is a channel I'm going to be working on growing for the rest of the year. So join me in the next video where I either talk about the challenges that come from designing on a torus created by cutting a tube, or I talk about trends to keep an eye out for in 2019 for graphic design. It'll be one or the other. Thank you for watching, and I'll go make some credit graphics for the end of this video. Thank you very much.